Hello, we are back after a stupidly long hiatus of sitting on our asses doing absolutely nothing, and we are here to talk about an old, no longer relevant PC game known as Star Wars Republic Commando, where you have guns and you shoot things like a bunch of other games, but this one's different for reasons we will explain in the video. I am TRackard.
And you might remember me as Firestorm, if you could get past the annoyingly pubescent voice.
So, okay, overall opinion on the game. I say positive, although recommending it, well, you should base that off of what we say in the video. Your opinion?
I like the game a lot. That might be nostalgia speaking for me, but I still go back to it sometimes and play it just because it's a nostalgic title for me that I played when I was really young. It was actually one of the first first-person shooters I've ever played, actually.
For me, I can't remember the first-person shooter that I've played, although I know I definitely played Star Wars Jedi Knights 2 Jedi Outcast before this. I remember really liking that, but I remember being so terrible at it that I couldn't beat it without using cheats, but that's a topic for another day. I think I learned about this game when we bought the Star Wars Best of PC collection, which if I remember correctly, I think I got my parents to buy me that at like the Kmart.
They bought me that for one of my birthdays, and it came with a bunch of other nostalgic titles for me, such as Star Wars Battlefront and Star Wars Empire at War, which were incredibly fun, but I remember having the most fun with this game.
I don't remember having that much fun with Empire at War. Okay, sorry, tangent. Okay then, so my overall, I'm going to expand a bit on my overall opinion of the game, where I find that it's a mostly solid shooter with standard weaponry. I mean, I don't remember any of the weapons specifically sticking out. I mean, this ain't Unreal type weaponry here, but I mean, it serves the purpose of what it's trying to do in the game. And I find the game is split into 3 acts, which the first is the strongest, second weakest, and then third is second strongest, I guess.
What I found it was kind of like Star Wars meets Halo meets Unreal in several ways, when the weapon play and health system is concerned, because it's got Halo shields and health limit, it feels like, and the act of picking up weapons and like grenades and cycling through them felt a lot like Unreal to me.
That's more of a standard old FPS mechanic, so making the Unreal comparison is probably not that good, but that's my opinion. Okay, then now specifically going into why of my specific feelings on the individual sections, more on why I feel the way the game is structured, of how it starts out pretty good, then it kind of sort of falls apart in the middle, but picks back up at the end, where well, the game is, at first, it's like a squad-based shooter. I don't play a lot of them. This is like the only one I know, so I can't make comparisons like other squad-based shooters to say, like, compared to this game, it's like really good or really bad. I'm just saying this is sort of from me. Yeah.
I can't help but imagine what this game would have been like if it had 4-player co-op.
That's what I was thinking.
That would have been amazing.
If it was like Left 4 Dead, it'd be like, that probably... I'm not sure how good that would be, but like, definitely... Well, maybe someone modded it in. I never looked up mods for this game.
I think that would have been a really fun addition if they had ever gone and re-released it, but sadly they never did.
Well, I mean, I think I saw it available on Steam. Okay, and so as I was saying, so what is it? The beginning section is, what is it? Obviously, if you can gather from the title, it takes place within the Star Wars The Clone Wars movie. What was it? The prequel trilogy, which I'm not fond of, but that's a different conversation for a different day. But even despite the fact that it takes place in that universe, I feel that the game is still rather solid. And then again, it's a video game, so this is the type of video game where the story is inconsequential, which is kind of nice.
It takes place during the Battle of Geonosis, and it shows a much grittier side of that battle than the movie ever did. And
well, then again, the movie was just like, here's a bunch of crap going on, and then it's kind of like... What is it?
Several hundred Jedi pulling out lightsabers and just cutting through things like butter. That doesn't really show any danger and give you any feeling of peril going on. But this game does. It gives you that feel because you're
actually a soldier and you're actually there, even though you're an expendable clone trooper. They found a clever way around it by making you a, quote, commando and saying your genes are rarer than everyone else, so you're less expendable, which is nice because it kind of just comes... Because in my opinion, if they didn't do that, they'd probably end up with the conundrum of you just kind of have teammates and then they die and then you could just easily replace them with something else. And that would probably that probably would lead to some emotional detachment from the game, or could possibly make it incredibly depressing depending on which way you look at it. Although Star Wars isn't, in my opinion, isn't the proper vehicle to make like an uber depressing story like that with, but
Having the special unit of Commandos also allowed them to give them personality and have there be emotional attachment, and you could actually feel like there was bonding going on between the characters and like a camaraderie, which each character is important in their own way.
I mean, in principle, yes, but I feel the execution of that was rather weak, but I'm getting on tangents. I need to make my point. Okay, so I need to make my point real quick. So the first section on Geonosis, I feel is the strongest, mainly because it's the game. It keeps the most focus of what the game does well, which is basically you and your squad just more or less going on a linear, tunnel track, doing simple tasks. When I say simple tasks, I mean like I'll elaborate more on the game mechanics in a bit. And the other chapters tend to get distracted on that and try to come up with some extra gimmicks because they realize that they kind of used up all their mechanics in like the Geonosian levels. So
You said that the second level was the worst. While I do
the
agree
assault
with
ship.
that, I did enjoy the feeling of isolation and complete desolation that you feel in that level.
There are other games that do it a lot better than this one. I mean, I think it would be better if you didn't die so cheaply. Then again, I played this on hard mode, so you kind of die pathetically fast. It feels cheap. So that's another point why I think the first and last are stronger, because generally if you die rather quickly because of like because of cheap enemy placement cheap enemy placement is prevalent in like the second episode, which is another reason that makes it annoying. And if you die, you could just have your squad mates just pick you back up again. Although in some cases when you're playing on the harder difficulty, it's better to just restart the level. Okay, let me give an example of a level of a typical level in this game and why it works. So normally you start out in like just an area. All the levels are basically tunnels, so basically it's just different wallpaper, and normally the level design doesn't necessarily have any level specific hazards or gimmicks. Like they don't, generic example, you have a lava level and they have to worry about lava. That's not really in this game. So you start out with your squad, and then you just basically move along the corridor, and they have different points where you can set up sniper positions, set up grenade positions, set up whatever, and while enemies come and attack you, and then you're not always offending. Sometimes you have to sit and defend a specific point for a certain period of time, which normally whenever they do that, they give you a health container so you can just constantly heal yourself or your teammates. So while you do that, and
with the attack and defend scenarios, I vastly preferred it when you were attacking. I don't know. That might just be because when I was originally playing this game, I was really young and I died a lot during the defense sections. I don't know, but that was me.
I find the defense sections kind of most annoying because it's mainly because I feel like the game's designed to be constantly moving forward. I notice whenever you stop and you have your teammates just kind of try to stay around you, they always find the worst places to stand. Normally, like in the way of enemy fire, in case like a door opens and then they start shooting at you, and then it's
the final defense level in the second act was that was the worst. There were droids everywhere. You had to go blow things up while trying not to die and keeping your teammates alive. A really bad closing for the worst chapter in the game.
Actually, I found a way that made it pathetically easy, because I think I noticed that the droids don't, on that level, the droids don't actually come up to your position, and if you leave like one dude on the sniper position and then two other dudes on the console while you are on the third console, and you can just type away, I noticed that works, although that's an incredibly boring way of playing that level, which is another reason why the second act is so bad, and I'm going to get into why the second act's so bad right now. It's basically, I said the game is strongest when you're with your teammates. Basically, it starts out with you just being alone, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, the atmosphere in the game is pretty nice. It has some dark corridors, some nice sound design going on. When I say sound design, I'm excluding music, because the way the music was designed in this game was frankly kind of very horrible, because tracks will kind of start and stop on top of each other in a noticeably bad fashion.
The music was pretty good. It's what you would expect from Star Wars, but the way it was designed wasn't great at all.
Yeah, whoever was in charge of editing it was doing a bad job. What they really should have done is they should have just had moments where no music was playing, kind of like your Half-Life style, where you have, select tracks play during key moments of the game instead of having to always have something droning on in the background, because they obviously wanted to make it cinematic like a movie and have, key tracks play at key moments, but like also have it be video gamey and have something constantly droning on in the background, to keep you entertained to a certain degree if you're one of those people that can't stand having nothing going on.
One thing I noticed, even in sequences when there's nothing going on, especially in the second act, I noticed there wasn't a whole lot of ambient music. It was just either complete silence or the most inappropriate music ever.
I don't remember. Well, then again, I find basically Kashyyyk is like a Geonosis 2.0. Or not even 2.0, more like 1.25. It's kind of more. It feels more like an expansion pack on the first half of the game, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because, like I said, it's what the game normally does best when you're just going through some type of hallway and that you're just more or less moving forward, constantly, and so on and so forth.
The Kashyyyk level was the level I played the least and know the least about, because I obviously didn't finish the game when I was young due to stupidity and lack of patience with death.
Yeah.
But I did play it a couple times, and I don't honestly remember that much from it, because it felt a lot like the Geonosian level, and the Geonosian level was more memorable for me.
Yeah, basically, if there's anything you can take away from, this video, is that you're more or less perfectly fine playing the first half of the game and the first half of the game only. Normally, a lot of people, when they play a game, they like to actually play through the whole thing, where, this is one where you're perfectly fine not doing that. I don't feel bad saying that. Normally, it's like when you play a game, you should go through the whole thing, but that's not the case. And also, another thing, I find that I mentioned that your friendly AI can be a bit stupid at times when you're defending certain positions. One thing I find really exemplified about this is the Geonosians. They have, this beam weapon that all you have to do is strafe to the left or right to avoid it. But they stand there and they take it.
They don't move.
They take it like a man. But in the worst way possible.
The one chasm part when you're deep in the Geonosian foundries and there's just a bunch of chasms and pitfalls all around you, and they just stand there
and they just stand there and let them shoot them, and it's like I want to pick them up and I want to slap them, and it's like,
or if they don't do it, I'll just throw them off the cliff because they won't do anything productive.
Yeah, you can't actually throw them off the cliff, though. But another thing about the NPCs, they're supposed to have sort of unique personalities, but they really only come off as being like a one-trick pony, for lack of a better word.
It's more of a specialization than...
No, it's not. It doesn't even play into the gameplay, which is what really bothered me, because they specifically say, this dude's good with hacking, this dude's good with explosives, this dude's good with sniping. But the
only part of the game in which that actually applies is in the beginning, when you conveniently find the hacker right when you need to hack something. And oh look, you conveniently find the explosives guy right when you need to blow something up.
Exactly, but the thing is, during any other part of the game, if you say, someone go set an explosive on this, anyone will do it, and it'll take the exact same time no matter what character it is, which always bothered me, because, if you specifically go out of your way to say these characters have certain specializations, the least you could have done was to make it take less time if that character were to do it, incentivizing you to actually use the character's abilities. You didn't necessarily have to make it so that, only that character could do it, but at least...
A better way to have gone about the programming of the squad command system would have been to let you point at the squad mate you want to do something and then tell them to do it, other than just randomly telling someone to do something.
Or anything really would have been better, but it wouldn't bother me as much if they didn't make such a big deal about it in the beginning of the game, specifically pointing them out and saying why they're so unique. And really, they're not that unique, like I said. Other than being a one-trick pony mechanic-wise, they're also personality-wise. Where basically Sev is the dark, brooding, killer guy thingy, and he's, all serious and stuff. And then, I can't even remember their other names. I feel so stupid. I guess shows how memorable they are. Well, basically, there's an engineer type character, and he's sort of like comic relief, but not in a bad way. But I don't even want to say comic relief because he's not that funny. It doesn't seem he was supposed to be intended to be funny.
He's just more of a lighthearted character than the other ones.
I guess.
Maybe. I guess. Let's go with that. More positive would be another way to put it.
I guess maybe the optimist in a pessimist world. I don't know. That's not. I guess that's even being too generous. And then there's I think 4240, I don't know. And he's basically there's the mission. Stop goofing around. Be serious. Well, then he's intentionally boring, so that's like criticizing an apple for tasting like an apple. So yeah. I don't know how to feel about that.
It feels like we've started to really nitpick on this game, hasn't it?
Whatever. This is just a general discussion. We can say whatever we want. And also, another thing I found about the game that's kind of stupid is, like, the Grievous teasing in the Kashyyyk levels, because, really, if you know anything about the Star Wars movies, you know you're not going to kill Grievous. So he's just, like, there to be like, oh my god, Star Wars imagery, look at the Star Wars imagery, oh my god, Star Wars.
Fan service at its max right there.
Like, because, really, it's like, what is it? He gets killed by Obi-Wan, so what? Like, I don't know.
That would have been a stupid ending to the game. Not that the ending was kind of stupid enough, but if they had gone up against him and just died.
Or something. Well, speaking of dying, one of the characters dies, Sev, the only one I can remember the name of.
No one knows exactly what happens to him.
It's ambivalent. I think they did that intentionally to say, hey, maybe there could be a sequel. There was never a sequel.
There never was. There should have been on a new-gen console, because that would have been awesome, but it never happened.
I mean,
and then we have Disney going and canceling all the new Star Wars games, so...
Oh, yeah, that was pretty stupid. I don't know, even the death itself is kind of... implied death is kind of stupid itself, because it's like, what is it? Okay, so what is it? Even the climax, I always found the climax to be kind of pointless, because like I said, it gets down to the thing that bothers me the most about, the game, whenever
everyone is splitting up to go on these turrets to shoot at a starship,
and the
once
game,
again, you're the last one to go.
And the game always gets boring when you're by yourself, mainly because, well, yeah, I already explained why. Yeah, and then, you go on a starship, and then you shoot it with absolutely no opposition, and then it blows up. And then your teammates more or less teleport back to your position, even though there were even though one of them was pretty close to 7, probably could have came back and done something, but, like, that's me, going on a story perspective, basically saying, this could have happened, but it didn't happen. And really, it doesn't even matter, like, if it was what happened, because they more or less drop it right away when Yogurt comes in and starts saying Yogurt stuff. Yeah, and then...
More fan service.
I always found that kind of pointless. It's like, why is Yoda saying something specifically to Delta Squad? Because, they imply that Delta Squad is, like, uber special, like, out of, like, a sea of clones. They're, like, the only unique ones.
Jedi normally only talk to the highest ranks, and even though they're special and combat veterans and elite, they're not the highest ranks.
They're just the ground force. So it kind of felt forced. But then, like I said, this is more the older style shooter story where the story is inconsequential. Well, which, like I said, is nice.
Just throw the third level in there, Geonosius. Oh my god.
Geonosius. Oh, yeah, and speaking of that, they bring back the Geonosians in the Kashyyyk levels, I guess, for forced variety. They sort of explain why, but with a cheap story explanation, but it just feels like a way as to sort of, like I said, force variety onto the game.
Seemed really weird to me. I never understood that. Aren't there...
Like, the story explanation is that, it's an all-out war and they're planning on taking Kashyyyk, and, like, these aliens that weren't even in the Star Wars movies that they introduced specifically for this game, I think, they're called Trandoshans, that for some reason have an energy shotgun, which they specifically point out that the character thought it was actually a, quote, slug thrower, but actually was just an energy weapon made to look like a projectile weapon, and actually has to be pumped, and it's like, what? I don't know. That is like the most out there.
They just kind of put that.
Like, that was just shoved there for no real reason.
Although I do remember that being my favorite weapon not because of it was special or anything, but just because probably I was young, it was aesthetically pleasing, and it was like, ooh, a pump weapon, it's kind of badass. But
I
no.
think I remember it being effective on normal difficulty, but like on hard difficulty, you have to get really close to them, and if they have a shotgun, you automatically die in one shot, which makes it useless. And speaking of that, what is it? The movement speed in this game is generally slow, like modern FPS forced walking sequence slow. Like, those scenes in like Call of Duty and your battlefields where like, we have an important thing to show you, so we're gonna force you to walk really slow. That's basically your movement speed throughout the entire game.
And there's no sprint because old game, and...
No, but the funny thing is that almost everything uses some type of projectile weapon, even though it's supposed to be energy, but it's an actual thing traveling through the world. If you strafe left or right, you can actually avoid Super Battle Droid fire, which I kind of find hilarious, but because it's a hallway game, you can't actually do that most of the time.
I did find that funny, and when I turned cheats on, just for fun, one playthrough, when I was shooting with a grenade launcher, the grenades would just, like, spread out. It was amazing.
I never played with cheats, so I don't know what you're talking about. Oh yeah, another thing, I find that the game actually does have a good climax inside of it, but it's not the actual climax. It's just part of the...
pre-climax?
What?
The pre-climax?
Yeah, I guess.
Let's go with that.
It's when you're trying to blow up a bridge, and that, in my opinion, it balances the right amount of difficulty with fairness. Unless you're playing on hard, then the entire game's unfair. Because, what it has is, it has, like, some super battle droid dispensers on the other side of the bridge, and then you have a couple positions where you can set them to, like, throw grenades and snipe and stuff. And they also have, like, a turret that you can also shove people on, then you, like, and then you can, and then you could use that to strategically move up the bridge piece by piece until you can finally blow up the things and, blow up the bridge. Which, I felt that was a good climax. It was rightfully difficult for where it was placed in the game, and it wasn't too frustrating. But
it was also
that
a
wasn't
nice
the climax, though.
It was a nice combination of attacking and defending at the same time.
Yeah,
which
because you have to move up on their position. You can't just stay back and blink away at them because they're constantly spawning in, so you can't just snipe them from the other side of the bridge. You actually have to move up on them. But then you have to also, be defending yourself the entire time because they are constantly spawning, and then we have to put a bomb on the droid dispenser, you have to defend the dude, on it. And I found that the NPCs on the turrets were kind of stupid for some reason. I never got that. Like,
they died all the time.
They're hyper smart when you put them on snipe positions because all of them are basically hack bots, or whatever the proper term is. Because they hit everything on the mark.
Have you watched one when they're sitting on a sniper position? They're following things like they have wall hacks. And
exactly. It's like that's so stupid. It's like if Sev was the only one doing that, I'd be like, okay, that's part of his character. But it's like everyone does it, and it's like, what? Like, what? And another thing that bothers me is that, like, when you die, you're given 3 different options. 1, just load a save. 2, have them come revive you. Or 3, maintain current orders, which I promise you is the worst thing you could possibly choose in this game because they will rarely, if ever, actually manage to kill the enemies without you. They become chickens without their heads when you die, which is annoying. So really, you should just have them revive you right away. Don't even wait.
If they can, or if you're in a situation where you're either playing on hard or there's just too many enemies and they'll die on the way, you should probably load a save.
Yeah. If you're playing on hard, just load a save. Because like I said, hard is a bit cheap. You should play this game on normal. It's not well balanced.
At all. I wish anyone luck playing the second half of this game, the second third of this game on hard, with the little stupid things that come out of vents or unhinge from the wall randomly.
Oh, those little scavenger bots. Those are the cheapest thing in the game. They're like the worst part of the Geonosians that shoot the laser beam at you, except strafing doesn't let you avoid it, and yeah, they're tiny and hard to hit because you have projectile weapons, and like they're the only enemy where that actually matters, that you have a projectile weapon because they're constantly moving or almost constantly moving.
If you could time it right, you could hit them with an EMP, but that didn't really
Normally, what
work
happened
that
is
much.
I played this game enough that I've more or less memorized their positions and memorized when they're going to come out and be super annoying to you. So, I mean, that section isn't that bad for me, but like I said, quite honestly, the second third of the game is not that enjoyable. Now, this thing we complained about, I'm questioning why we're recommending this, other than like the first part. I mean, like, how much is it on Steam? I mean, if it's like $5, I mean, why not?
I think it's more than that, but still not that much.
$10. I mean, it's...
If the multiplayer was still up, then but then again, who would play it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know anything about the multiplayer. You have more experience with it than me.
I think my Halo and Unreal allergy. God.
Allergy. You have allergies to video games? That's weird.
I think my analogy works a lot better for multiplayer because it even has the exact same like red text at the top of the screen when you kill someone as Unreal, and the gameplay feels really, really similar.
Well, it's been a while since I played Unreal Tournaments, so I mean, I guess I'll have to go with what you're saying, although I cannot see the multiplayer being anything like Unreal Tournament.
It was more like Halo, but it had elements in there.
Halo. Sorry, I don't like Halo. Halo's kind of stupid in my opinion. And I think I'm going to close it with, my closing point is going to be the weapons in the game. Like I said in the beginning, there weren't really anything special. They served their purpose. Mainly, I feel maybe I'm spoiled off of like Unreal or something. And like
there is one or two interesting. Like you could pick up the Geonosian beam weapon.
And I don't know. Maybe I think on hard mode they do something to that balancing of that gun because the moment you start using it, it runs out of ammo. I don't know why.
Maybe it's just because the enemies take too long to kill with it, and you've run out of bullets or energy.
Bullets. They don't label how much energy you have left, which is annoying.
It just kind of overheats and stops,
or whatever's actually going on.
But
they made a point saying in the game that it runs off of like the blood of the host, but you'd think that would set up a mechanic that whenever you use it, it would drain your life, and you could keep it as long as you still had life left, but it doesn't. It's just a beam weapon that doesn't tell you how much ammunition it has left.
It was a cool weapon. It would have been better if it had an ammo system that made more sense. But
mainly because its current state in the game makes me feel kind of unimpressed and kind of, apathetic towards it.
Other than that, you had your standard assault rifle,
grenade launcher,
just what you'd expect from it.
Useless pistol that you'll never actually use.
I did kind of enjoy the aesthetics of the weapon because it was like a switching animation and it was the same weapon just with different parts.
Yeah, I found that in principle interesting, although in execution it doesn't seem rather practical because if you're like in a battle, you're gonna need to have your gun ready at like every single moment, and if you're like busy taking parts off, that probably wouldn't be a good thing. Like I guess in idea it's nice, but like if you were to actually practically execute it, it'd probably be stupid.
And you would think there would be more than just your grenade launcher and your sniper rifle attachment for it.
Yeah.
If that was for Commandos, it seemed like they were rather yes, I'm saying this, it seemed they were kind of underarmed.
Under-equipped, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like at the beginning, well, I think they're trying to have like maybe this isn't the right phrase, but they're cake and eat it too, where like they're trying to have like, the standard, weapon progression of, oh, you get this gun, then you get this gun, then you get this gun, then you have all the guns, and then you could use them all in crazy different ways, kind of like the way your, traditional FPS would be set up. Your traditional old school FPS. But at the same time, it kind of creates this illogical state where why would you intentionally send your commandos with rather weak weaponry when you know there are other better weapons available? Where they sort of say that, it's like, oh, it's a supply drop, we're going to give it to you later. No. Why not arm them in the first place?
When you get the sniper rifle, it doesn't make any sense at all, because it's kind of just laying on the ground in the middle of the Geonosian Foundry.
But it's next to a random regular clone trooper, which doesn't even carry your type of weaponry, which is even more confusing.
And why he was down there alone?
Like I said before, the story's not really important, and for the most part, they don't they don't treat it like it's important, except out of a few scenes
It's one
where
of
like
those It's one of those games when they throw a lot of things under the bus just so the game progresses, which isn't exactly a bad thing for this type of game.
yeah, I mean, if it was trying to be like, Spec Ops: The Line, then I'd care more about this, but it's not.
It's just trying to be an entertaining Star Wars game, which it was. Very.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I'm thinking about it deeper, putting it on Star Wars Best of PC kind of seems weird, because I mean, like, Jedi Knight 2 Outcast is, like, so much better, like, in so many other ways, and they're both FPS games, except, Outcast actually gives you the option to play in third person if that's your type of thing. And also on top of that, it has force powers and some actually rather creative weaponry, and I'm just thinking, it's like, yeah, just get Jedi Outcast, it's better.
Yep. But if you were a fan of Star Wars when you were younger, you probably played this game. So
Yeah.
you probably played all of those games.
There are older Star Wars games that I haven't gotten to yet. When I say older, I mean, like, Doom era Star Wars games. Like, I think Star Wars Dark Forces is one that I've been meaning to get to.
I can't play games past a certain generation because I only have access to a PC and I don't have access to old consoles.
No, this is an old PC game. You can buy it off Steam. It's actually like $6. So it's Star Wars Dark Forces. And even if it wasn't on Steam, there's also like what is it? What's the word? GOG. Yeah, which is good for backwards compatibility for like older games. If I use the right word, that allows you to easily load up games that ran off of DOSBox. Derp. Sorry, brain fart. Okay, yeah. So I gave my recommendation. You gave your recommendation. So I guess we're done. Okay, then. This has been TRackard on Star Wars Republic Commando
And Firestorm signing out.